Thank you, teachers, students, JASoCal board members, and community partners for joining us for the second in the series of JASoCal Town Halls, brought to you by RSM. Please welcome NBC4 Today in LA anchor and your Town Hall moderator, Daniela Guzman.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm Daniela Guzman with NBC4 Today in LA. I am so happy to be back with you this year, joining you for the Junior Achievement of Southern California, also known as JASoCal, for another exciting program. I think last year was really successful. We heard from an incredible group of panelists. The students had some really good questions, really thought out. And I think that the students got a lot out of it, as so did I and the panelists as well. So we hope that this next hour will really help us all understand what is going on in the world around us and what are we going to do with our money? How do we plan for today? How do we plan for our future financially? And I know there are a lot of questions out there because some of this stuff we don't learn at school. They don't teach us at school. So we either have to learn it at home or from experts, which we're going to get a chance to do today. We'll also have some questions for them. But as many of you are aware, the world right now feels really uncertain with everything that's been going on this past year and a half during the pandemic. And many families have faced some financial hardships and are still facing those hardships over the past year and today. And this may be weighing heavily on your shoulders. You know, you're young and sometimes it's difficult to understand and plan for your future. Maybe someone in your household lost a job. Maybe you lost your job if you were working at the time. And it's very difficult to understand how exactly you're going to plan your future. Maybe you had plans to go to college and there's a pause on that. So a lot of uncertainty right now, but we're going to try to refocus right now and help you plan for your future because it is just the beginning. You are so young. And these panelists have some great advice, and you will be able to benefit from all this because the economy will bounce back and you will be able to achieve all your goals and your dreams. So with that, I want to say thank you to RSM and our sponsor and our supporters as well. We are so excited to bring you together, the group of panelists, and all these ideas and all the advice about investing, the ins and outs. It's complicated, especially if you're not a numbers person. You're still going to be able to get it, okay? This is going to be for everybody, and no questions are off the table. No questions are dumb. Feel free to be you and to express yourself and to ask all the questions because this is your chance to be in front of these panelists. So we're going to make that easy for you. In the meantime, though, before I introduce you to our amazing panelists, I do want to welcome RSM's LA and Southwest market leader, Joe Massa. Joe, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Daniela. Good morning, everyone. Very excited to be here today. To begin with, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining today's JA Virtual Town Hall 2.0, second series of unique and interactive programs focused on helping teens across Southern California. I'm glad to join you today and to represent RSM. RSM is a global audit, tax, and consulting firm focused on middle market businesses. The clients we serve are the engine of the global commerce and economic growth, and we're focused on developing leading professionals and services to meeting their evolving needs in today's ever-changing business environment. Since 1926, stewardship has been one of our firm's core values. The RSM Foundation brings those values to life through its mission to build tomorrow's middle market leaders by supporting programs just like this. Programs focused on education as well as organizations serving youth in the areas of hunger, housing, and health. As one of our national charities, the foundation has continued to support JA, and I'm very happy and excited to say that we have a 3-year commitment to support JA with $1.5 million. Our partnership with JA not only empowers young individuals to become confident, successful future business leaders, it provides opportunities for RSM professionals to share their knowledge and skills in their local communities. RSM employees and partners who volunteer with JA serve as mentors to students and help connect classroom concepts to real-world applications. The foundation supports our people stewardship efforts with JA by providing grants, matching employee volunteer time through Dollars for Doers, and matching individual donations as well as team fundraising efforts. For today's event, the JA team has invited several experts, including business leaders, influencers, and entrepreneurs, to answer your questions and help you prepare to own your future and your financial success. And remember, it's your future. No one can take that away from you. It's what you are willing to make out of it. Paying for college remains one of the biggest concerns on teens' minds, according to a new survey from JA and Citizen. COVID-19, as Daniela mentioned earlier, has significantly impacted college attendance and plans. 25% of the 2020 high school graduating class surveyed delayed their plans to attend college due to COVID-19. And 43% of high school juniors and seniors expecting their parents or guardians to help pay for college say they're cutting back financial contribution due to COVID-19. I understand that many of you are concerned about this and probably have questions related to working and preparing for the future. Believe it or not, most Americans do not have nearly enough to retire. And according to Northwestern Mutual, 1 in 3 of those nearing retirement age have less than $25,000 in savings. Most experts recommend to have $1 million saved for your retirement. And like many of the speakers you'll hear from today, I advise you to start this process as early as possible. I also encourage you to listen and take note of best practices from the experts. Be courageous, ask lots of questions, and make today fun and full of learning. Finally, I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who have helped us make this event possible. Thank you to Junior Achievement, our speakers, and to the sponsors. Very warm welcome to each and every one of you. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Joe, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. I'd also like to introduce today's panelist. We are so thankful that you're taking the time to be here with us today. We know how busy you are. You're going to answer some of our questions and tell us a little bit about your personal journeys and what you've learned throughout, and just fill our brains with information so we can move forward confident with our money and with our finances for the future. So I'm going to start off with introducing Tina Hay. She is the founder and CEO of Napkin Finance. It's a visual guide to money. So Tina is a strong believer in financial literacy. Tina created Napkin Finance to be a platform for users of all ages to learn about finance in a simple and an engaging way, because we all know trying to understand finance and money and just math in general is a challenge. So she makes it really easy for you to understand. She's also the author of the best-selling book called Napkin Finance, Build Your Wealth in 30 Seconds or Less. Tina has become a trusted resource. She's become a speaker and an advisor to numerous companies and platforms as well that are seeking to empower all of their readers. She has been featured on the Today Show, on CNBC, on Forbes, on the New York Times, the Washington Post, for her financial insights, for her experience and expertise and unique perspectives as well on the power of visual learning. Tina holds a BA from UCLA and an MBA from Harvard University. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Tina.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. And then now I'm going to introduce Nelly Galland. She's a self-made media mogul, dubbed the tropical tycoon by the New York Times Magazine. She was the first Latina president of entertainment for a U.S. television network, Telemundo. She's also an Emmy Award-winning producer, founder of the Adelante movement. It's a New York Times best-selling author of books as well. Self-made, becoming empowered, self-reliant, and rich in every way. And don't buy shoes, buy buildings. I can't wait to read that one. Galland has a master's and a doctorate as well in clinical psychology. Nelly, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Daniela. We love seeing you every morning, early. We love it. Proud of you.
Thank you. So thank you so much. So happy to have you with us this morning. Next, it is time to introduce Silvia Garcia. She serves as Vice President and Senior Financial Advisor for City National Securities. It's the owned subsidiary of City National Bank, where her most important responsibility is to help all her clients truly understand and plan for important financial goals such as retirement and educational expense funding as well. Silvia brings over 17 years of professional experience in the financial services industry. And she also holds a bachelor's degree in business economics from UCLA. Thank you so much for joining us, Silvia.
I'm so excited. Thank you.
All right, next is Trey Pruitt, a partner in the Aries Finance Department, where he focuses on strategic long-term business planning, financial planning, which is very important, also budgeting and forecasting initiatives. Trey also serves as a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Council there. Prior to joining Aries in 2016, he was vice president at Visa, Inc., where he led teams responsible for the financial support and management of Visa's Global Merchant Sales and Solutions Group. So Trey holds a BS from Stanford University in industrial engineering, an MBA from Kellogg Graduate School of Management and Finance, and strategy and organizational behavior. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. Trey, thanks for joining us this morning.
Excited to be here. Thank you.
All right, of course, and we want to thank all of our wonderful students for taking the time today. The most important part is, and the first step is to show up, right? To show up and to learn and to listen and to learn something new that you're going to be able to use and tuck into your tool belt as you continue to plan your future and your future goals. So we're so glad to have you here this morning, students. Thank you. We actually asked all of these students to submit questions ahead of today's event. And honestly, we were so impressed by the curiosity and by the questions that you all have. So thank you for submitting those great questions. We have about an hour or so today to get to all of that. So if you did submit a question and it was not selected to ask the panelists, then don't worry. There's a team of Junior Achievement staff members standing by. They will provide you with suggestions or answers to the questions that we don't get to in the Zoom meeting today. So now I'd like to introduce JA's Vice President of Programs, Kat Delgado Kirkwood. Good morning, Kat.
Good morning, Daniela. Thank you so much. As Daniela mentioned, my name is Kat Delgado Kirkwood, Senior Vice President of Programs for Junior Achievement of Southern California. So we're so excited that you're here today. I think for some of you, this is the first JA program that you're participating in. For others, it might be the second, third, or fourth. To you all, we say welcome, and we're excited that you're here for Virtual Town Hall 2.0. So for those that are joining us for the first time, I just want to tell you a little bit about Junior Achievement and the work that we do. So Junior Achievement of Southern California is a nonprofit organization, and we've been around since 1954. The work that we do is focused on three key areas: financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and workforce readiness. Now, how the programs come to life in the classroom is by teaching students money management skills, how to get a job, how to keep a job, and even how to start your own business. So we're so excited that you're here with us today for the savings and investing conversation. Now, I mentioned to you all that registered ahead of time that we were going to have some raffles here. So we're going to have 2 raffle presentations that are happening throughout this hour, and then one more that will happen after the event. We thank our sponsors and especially our friends at City National Bank who are making these prizes available to the students. So here are the 2 raffle prizes opportunities that are taking place during the hour. The first one is simply because you showed up. You're here, you've taken time to invest in yourself and in your future. So if you're logged on and you stay with us for the hour, your name is automatically entered into the raffle. So we're going to draw at random 3 names. You'll have an opportunity to win a $25 gift card, a $50 gift card, or $75 gift card. So we'll announce those winners at the end of this hour. The second opportunity is if we reach 1,000 Instagram followers. So if you are on your laptop during this broadcast, great. If you have quick access to your cell phone, grab it now. Go to Instagram, and I want you to follow Junior Achievement. You're going to follow us at JA_SoCal. So if we reach 1,000 followers during this 1-hour broadcast, we will do the second drawing. The last drawing will be at the end of the event. I'm going to send you a survey. We want to hear your feedback. We want to know, did this 1-hour presentation help you? Do you need more information? So by simply giving us your feedback and submitting the survey, you're going to be entered into a 3rd drawing. So thank you again for being here, for letting us be a part of your journey. And I'm going to turn it over back to you, Daniela.
All right, Kat, thank you. Okay, students, for a moment, I want you to focus on you and what is your relationship with money? How do you perceive money? What does money mean to you? How do you think you should be spending it? And sometimes our ideas are based on what our parents have passed on to us and watching them, how they spend their money. And, in thinking about it, the cost of education and higher education can really seem overwhelming because every single year the costs go up. It gets even more expensive just to get a basic education. Many of you have watched your parents work so hard, make money, and still barely get by or live paycheck to paycheck and barely make ends meet. And I know that's very difficult for you to see. And as parents, we always want our kids to be better, to do better, and to have better. And so it's really important that we think about our relationship with money and setting those goals. So we're going to start off by asking our panelists what their relationship with money is, what's a healthy relationship. I can start off by saying that my parents didn't really teach me how to invest money. All they said was like, save, save, save as much as you can. But then what? It kind of just sits there. And I never really learned well until like my 30s on how to invest my money. When I would get paid, I just go out and buy stuff. And I didn't realize that it was just like a cycle. And I wasn't doing anything to build my future. So I'm really excited for all you students out there that are going to get this incredible information for you to start building your financial future and to have a successful one as well. I'm going to start off by asking Trey. Trey, tell us a little bit about the meaning of money, what that means to you, and what's your relationship with money? What is that like?
Well, great question. I think everyone kind of knows what money is. It's the means in which we can exchange goods and services within our community. But what does it mean to me? It actually represents resources. As you just said, suffice it to say, my relationship with money has transformed over time as I've matured. As a young man, money represented a sort of independence from my parents, not having to ask for money to do the things that I wanted or to buy the Jordans that I needed for school. A lot of what I spent on, I couldn't remember, not even a week after I spent it. And you talked about when you get money, it burns a hole in your pocket. And I asked myself, did I really need those Jordans? And as Nelly said, don't buy shoes, buy buildings. However, as I've grown and matured, money represents resources to provide for my home and for my family, resources to make sure my children have healthy things to eat, good schools to attend, and long-term security for my spouse and I as we age. That being said, if there was one thing I'd want you guys to take away from this conversation about money, and you actually brought it up early, it's get into a habit of saving early. A quick rule of thumb, 1/3 goes into your savings, 1/3 to pay for the things that you need right away, and 1/3 to actually spend as you like and have fun. It doesn't matter how much you save, it just matters that you get into the good habits early so that it's easier to maintain those habits as an adult. Learning to save as an adult can be a difficult task, especially if you haven't built that muscle memory at this point, because those habits are hard to break. I'd encourage you to learn to save and save early.
All right, Trey, thank you for your answer. Want to ask Nelly a very similar question. What's the meaning of money to you? And what's your relationship with money? What is that like for you?
Well, I think for me, money started out being a very painful thing. My parents and I came to this country when I was 5 in the middle of a revolution in my country where my parents lost everything and came here, and I had to be their translator, their savior. And I would hear them say, why didn't we save more money? Why didn't we invest money? Why didn't we do different? It was all a lot of regret about having to start all over again. And I guess I learned at 5 years old and on that bad things could happen to good people, and that life is like an obstacle course, and there are a lot of crises in our lives. And sometimes we make those crises because we make bad decisions, but also bad things could happen. And I realized that the whole game of money is you have to make money, you have to save money. As Trey just said, you have to take some of that money and invest it in things that make money while you sleep, that grows the money while you work at other things. And to me, that was like a foreign language. I didn't know that. And so over time, I realized that for me to be truly empowered, I had to change my relationship, that painful relationship with money, and learn to embrace it and learn to make it a fun game so that I could, I who, didn't go to college till later on in life because I was helping my parents, I who am not J-Lo or Beyonce or an athlete, if I could make money and buy buildings and invest in those buildings and be retired by 45 when I'm not an extraordinary person, all of you can do it too. And you can start right now.
Awesome, Nelly. Thank you so much. Tina, and I want you to think back, Tina, to when you were a little bit younger. When and how did you start earning money? And when did you start saving and investing the money that you were earning?
Yeah, so I come from an immigrant family. So I, grew up around people who moved to this country and have worked very hard. And so that has been part of my own personal kind of experience, has been really working hard from early on. So I've had jobs all throughout my life. I started very early on. Actually, my first job was at a place called Humphrey Yogurt, which is still around. And it's funny, I just found out that Meghan Markle used to work there as well. And it's interesting because I've also had a lot of, I've worked for companies where I haven't earned any money. I've had free internships and those that I've made very little money for. And actually those have led me to some of the best opportunities and career experiences I've ever had. So I feel like hard work has always been a part of my personal, culture and my family, and which has been really rewarding for me. As far as, saving money, I think what was really memorable for me is I received a checking account and a debit card when I was 13 years old. And I just remember that gave me such a feeling of ownership and something that was very much mine, and that I could start saving money. But I do have a big regret in my life. It's not starting to invest earlier on. So I didn't have anyone actually, my understanding of investing was that you needed a lot of money. I didn't know how to begin. I didn't have anyone showing me how to start. And so if I had a time machine, I would go back in time, because as I think Trey mentioned also is, starting early is probably the most powerful thing anyone can do. So if you can start early on with even a little bit of money, and the power of compound interest, which Albert Einstein called the eighth, one of the most powerful forces in the universe, it can really be impactful over the long term. And so I think investing, the key is to really start early, even with small amounts, and to stay consistent. And I wish I had done that. And, it would have been life-changing if I had, but if that's something that I can pass along, I always, try to communicate how important it is to be able to invest and have your money work for you starting at an early age.
I agree with you. I wish I would have learned that a lot sooner and learned to pay myself first before paying other things and people, Thank you so much. Silvia, sort of same question for you too. Want to hear about when you started earning money and what that was like and how you learned to save and invest money.
Well, I think I share a similar experience with some of the other panelists. My parents were immigrants. I was one of 6 kids, and I was right in the middle. But I would always see my dad go to the bank and cash his check. And from that check, he'd leave, whatever he could in the checking account, and then he'd take what he needed to spend. And so when I got my first job, I was a student at UCLA. I was making $7.50 an hour. And I just barely had enough to get by and cover all of my expenses. And at that point, all I knew was what my dad did, right? You save a little bit in the bank account. I had no idea that there was a difference between saving and investing. But I met a professor at UCLA who actually changed my life. She introduced me to the concept of investing when I was 20 years old. And this is what she shared with me. I'll share it with you guys. She showed the difference between what would happen to $250 if you invested it on a monthly basis starting at 20 versus saving it if you just saved it in a checking account. And at the end of 20 years, so when we were 40, you could have the person who invested would have $500,000 more than the person who just saved. And by the time they were 50, the person who invested would have $1 million more than the person who was just saving in the checking account. And this was mind-blowing to me. I was 20 years old, making $10 an hour maybe at that time. And I went home and I remember doing my budget and figuring out how I was going to save $250. And at the time, it was pretty impossible, but it seemed impossible. And I started my own investment account at the time in a mutual fund. That's how I started saving. Now, that moment in my life was life-changing. It also was the moment where I decided everybody needed to know about this, because how can you win a game where you don't know the rules? Nobody tells you how to do this. So I decided I was going to become a financial advisor and help others understand these things.
Thank you all for sharing your experiences. Students, I hope that you can see that many of us started without any experience, not knowing anything. So if you're there now, there's only room for growth and education and learning what you can do. And you may have to change the way that you feel about money, and that may be uncomfortable. And you may have to change the way that you were taught about money. And that may be uncomfortable too, but the baby steps, and with this information, take good notes, and you will have the options that you need for a successful financial future and a stable one as well. Okay, so if you're ready for Q&As from our students, we're going to have our students, they've been waiting patiently, so let's get right to it. Here we go. We are going to start with Micaiah. First up, Micaiah Smith, 12th grader from Crenshaw High School, with a big question many of us have. Micaiah, good morning. What's your question for the panelists?
Hi. So my question is, what is investing and how exactly does investing work?
All right, Tina, can you help break this down for Micaiah?
Of course. So the basic idea behind investing is making your money work for you. So it's making investments that over the long term will bring you back a return. And you can invest in many different types of things. Usually you hear about things like stocks and bonds, but you can invest in everything from collectibles, as we've seen recently, to artwork, to real estate, cryptocurrency, and many other things. The important reason and why investing is so important is because if you put your money in a savings account, as Silvia mentioned, you basically have no return. But over the long run, in a 20-year period, no one has lost money in the investing in the stock market. And usually every year you gain about 10% investing in the market. And some years it's different. So it can be very powerful to have your money work for you. I think the really important things to understand about investing are that, number one, it doesn't have to be complicated. We have so many amazing technology and tools and apps right now that can make it very low cost to invest and automated. The other thing, as I mentioned before, is to start as early as possible, because time is your best friend. So investing early on and staying consistent is really powerful. The other thing that's important to know is, what is your risk tolerance? So we all have different risk tolerances based on how much money we need to access in the short term versus the long term, what our time horizon is. And so, as I mentioned before, if you invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's a lot more of a risk than investing in something like government bonds or corporate bonds. So it's important to know what your risk tolerance is. The other important area in investing is diversification. So there's a saying, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to put all your money into stocks or bonds or any other type of asset security. So it's important to spread your money around into different investments. And the other aspect to know is that you can invest for the long term in retirement accounts, which are often accessible with your employers in the future, and really great opportunities to save on taxes. Or you can do it now with brokerage accounts, and it can be really flexible and easy. But make sure that you understand your the taxes that are involved, because they can get high. And finally, I'll just say that it's a great idea to get help. You can go work with an advisor, a robo-advisor. There are definitely some fees attached, but right now it's easier than ever to get help and start investing even small amounts of money early on that can be automated and really be powerful over the long term.
Okay,
Tina, thank you. I know that was a lot of information, Micaiah, and it was very overwhelming, I'm sure. But the more you hear about this, the more you read about this, the more you educate yourself about it, it'll make sense and you'll start to understand. And like Tina said, start off small and grow from there wherever you feel most comfortable. I want to ask Trey, just to piggyback on that, on Micaiah's question, if you have anything to add, Trey?
Actually, I do. For the purposes of this conversation, I would really like my colleague would define investing as expending money or spending money with the goal or expectation of achieving a profit at a future point in time. That could be investments that you're making for your retirement, or just that you want to make sure that your money is working for you rather than just sitting in a regular savings account. Investments can take many forms, but the most common I think we've heard of here is buying stocks on a regulated stock market, like I think you guys have heard of the New York Stock Exchange. However, there are other ways to invest your money into less regulated, more private investments, but it's usually more difficult to access. Investing via a reputable exchange allows you to easily understand and track your investments in real time. The markets can tell you what your investment is currently worth and how much other individuals would be willing to pay you for your investment. Piggybacking on other types of investments that are not on a regulated market, I think I'd like to introduce you to something called private equity. From the name itself, you can already tell that is different than the New York Stock Exchange by the private moniker. These funds are typically invested in private transactions that are typically less regulated than buying stocks or bonds on an open exchange. For private equity investments, you need to have access to a firm like Ares that specializes in these types of transactions, and you usually need substantially more money to participate. So there are different levels of investment depending on the type and the amount of money that you'd like to invest. And starting with smaller investments via the New York Stock Exchange is usually the right way to go. So I'd encourage you to take what money you have, work with a custodian, and see if you can invest your money in some of the stocks that or products that you use every day. And then you'll see that money be put to work while you're in school at Crenshaw.
All right, Trey, thank you very much. And let's go to our next question now. Nelly, we have a question from Marco Arrojo, a ninth grader from Woodrow Wilson High School, who has a question. Marco, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Marco Arrojo from Wilson High School. My question is, how can a 15-year-old start saving and investing? Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to break it down for you guys the way that I would do it at your age. I think my colleagues are talking about investment, which is really, really important. But I also think investment comes in different forms. So investing could be in yourself. How many young kids today are influencers and are making money by investing in themselves, getting a light, doing videos, and making money and taking that money and putting that money away? I think that when you're in high school, it's a great time to start a side hustle today. What are things that are in your house? What are toys that you have? Maybe toys that you got when you went to McDonald's that are sitting in your house that are valuable, that now are like Star Wars toys that you could sell them online. What are things you can do from home and things that your parents might have in the house, or you guys that know so much about social media, you can say to your parents, you know, we could be renting a room in our house, or we could be using the car. Mom and dad, you can be using the car for Uber. Help your family become self-made and take that money, that extra money that you make or that you make with your parents, and first save it. Because I liked what Trey said earlier about putting money away. You can't invest till you have money put away, and you have money put away for an emergency, for a crisis, for your family. When we're in families that live and they don't have any money put away, if the car breaks down, it's a crisis. If you have money put away and something happens, then you feel like you can relax. Once you have enough money put away, you can start investing that money. And I think in high school, a great way to invest your money, not all of it, because you heard about risk. You always want to have some money saved. And then that risk money, I would start with something, like a lot of you guys love sneakers, for instance. Is there a way for you to buy a sneaker that then you can flip and sell? Start with things that you know well, that you love, that you know inside and out. Is that something that you can try to invest a little money in and see if that money makes you some more money? So I would start in your home, saving first by having a side hustle, and then investing a little bit in a little business that you know everything about at your age. My son started a YouTube channel teaching Latino and with his African-American best friend, teaching minority kids how to dance. And he made enough money that he started paying for his own college.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, think, Marco, maybe the talents that you may have. Maybe you can teach something, like Nelly said, on YouTube or social media. Sometimes you don't necessarily, you can sell something obviously for profit, but you could also use your talent, or if not, teach yourself something that you can then teach. Does that make sense? Learn something that you can teach. I want to ask Nelly, thank you for that. I also want to ask Tina to piggyback, see if she has any thoughts for Marco as well. And his question: how does a 15-year-old start out? Tina?
Yes. Yeah, I think the beauty of what, the time we live in right now, as I mentioned, is that you can start investing, right now with very little money, even just a couple dollars a week, and do that without any fees or anything else. There's so many apps and platforms that can help you do that. I think the key to is making it automated and making it consistent. And also, I agree with Nelly. I think right now there are a lot of really interesting collectibles and things like that are other ways to invest. And I also think investing in yourself, like your education, for example, is an investment in yourself. Other things that people don't traditionally classify as investments can be very powerful as well in helping you build, or grow your opportunities for your future. And as you continue to move on, as Trey mentioned, I think it's once you start early, it's much easier to continue and be consistent when you are working and you have more opportunities to invest in other opportunities, including things like investing in startups and other more risky assets.
Right, Tina. And it's also an opportunity that you can recover if you lose money or if your investment doesn't go well. You're still young enough to recover from that loss. Thank you for your answer, Marco. Thank you for your question. I want to move on to Juan Hernandez, a ninth grader from Alliance Judy Burton High School, here with a question that you may be able to help out with. Trey, I'm going to send this one to you. But first, let's hear Juan's question. Good morning, Juan.
Good morning. I just want to start off by saying thank you for having me. My question is, where should I go to find information about a certain stock, and what criteria and analytics should I know in order to invest in a stock?
That's a great question. What I'd say is, in this digital age, information is all around us. I'm pretty sure that many of you have a smartphone, probably speaking on some of your smartphones at the moment. So the key is, don't overcomplicate it. If you use the Apple products or even Android products, there's a stocks app that comes with your phone. That's a good place to start. Begin by looking up stock symbols or tickers, which represent the companies you may be interested in. If you like Nike and you like Jordans, let's look up Nike and let's figure out what it's selling for. You can look on Google and then you can load them on this particular app. Here's the thing that's interesting about it, that once you load that on your smartphone, all of the most recent analytics and news articles and things that you need to learn about the companies will be really one click away. They'll actually aggregate all of that data for you. So if there's something or a company that you like to actually learn about, you can load that ticker and then read all of the information about that company from various news articles and white papers that you can find on the internet. And then you can decide, is that something that you'd like to invest in after reading all of the information that's at your disposal? I think the challenge is identifying the type of asset you'd like to invest in. I'd advise starting with things that you use every day and then investigate those things, because those are things that you know about. We talked about investing in sneakers. I was a sneakerhead when I was a kid, so I really knew a lot about sneakers. That might be something that has you investigating companies that manufacture shoes, and then you may end up investing in there as well as buying some for resale and starting your own business, right? So if you use certain products every day, odds are that other people use those products too. That may be the safest bet for you to start your first set of investments.
Trey, thank you. Sylvia, how do investors research stocks?
Well, I think a great place to start. Yeah, a great place to start when delving into stock analysis is to understand why you're investing in stocks and like Trey said, how the stocks will fit into your investment portfolio. I think things that you want to consider are if you want to hold a stock for a long term or a short term, how much you want to invest so you can understand how it's going to impact your overall, money. and whether you're comfortable and familiar with the business of the company. So like Trey said, if you know that you like sneakers and you're going to buy a sneaker company, you probably have some insight as to how much they're making in sales and what's popular. Because when you buy a stock, what you're really doing is buying a piece of the company. So you want to buy a company that's profitable because you want to participate in the long-term success. And things you want to consider are, how does the company make money? Does this company have a competitive advantage? Do they do one thing really well? Like, some would argue Apple has a competitive advantage over an iPhone or the iPad. How good is the management team leading the company? And then you also want to consider what could go wrong. Once you get past that, there's fundamentals that you could consider when making the decision on whether or not to invest in a company. And some of these fundamentals include earnings and sales, and then also debt and equity. Ideally, companies' earnings and sales should be higher than the year before and continue to grow in the future, because it's an indication that the company is profitable and you're going to participate in that profitability. Professional analysts also do research, and like Trey said, all of those financial ratios that they put together and the information is freely available to you. You can do it through your phone or through Google Finance or Yahoo Finance or any section of a big newspaper. And then to step back a little bit more, to begin investing, whether it's stocks or anything else, I'd recommend that a person start becoming familiar about financial markets and the general economy so that it keeps you away from the fear and anxiety that is created by the uncertainty of not knowing and not being familiar. So reading and getting engaged with what's happening in current events, I think it's a really good place to start as well. I hope that answered your question, Juan.
Silvia, thank you. Juan, thank you for that great question. This next question is going to come from Kimberly Martinez, also a ninth grader from Alliance Judy Burton High School. And she has a very important question when it comes to investments that everyone should really understand and know before taking those next steps. So I'm going to open it up to Kimberly to ask her question.
Thank you for having me. My question is, how do I know if the investment I want to make is too risky? And do you have any examples of risky investment?
All right, Kimberly, thank you. Nelly, I'm going to send this one to you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the second part of the question.
Kimberly, try one more time.
My question is, how do I know if the investment I want to make is too risky? And do you have any examples of risky investments?
Well, you heard some of them before, but we'll go over it. I think, first of all, you keep hearing that everything is balanced, right? And Daniela said earlier, you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So to me, risky is if I don't have enough money put away to feel safe, then I don't, until I feel that I have money saved. That's why saving money and risking money goes together. If I don't have enough money saved, then risking everything is a bad idea. But if I do have enough money put away, then risky to me, especially for you guys, would be if it's something that you know nothing about. You just heard Silvia and Trey say, let's start with things that you guys already know. You guys don't realize you're geniuses. You are the best investors in the world because you're young and you know what companies are hot. You know what kids like. Like my son tells me all the time, oh, that app is good and this app is not, or that app is no longer cool. You guys know what businesses are going to hit big more than I do, more than any of us do. So when you have a gut like that, start working on learning more about these companies that you go, I know that there's this, hair product or this makeup that nobody knows about and every girl is using it and it's going to be hot. That's when you know that that's the thing you should be investing in, or that's the thing that somehow you should get involved in. And maybe you're too young and you missed the boat and you go, darn it, that thing went through the roof. I should have put my money in it. There's always another company, but you start cultivating your voice. You start cultivating, wow, I'm smarter than I think I am. I really know what's going to be hot. Like you should be telling me what I should be investing in. So when you start thinking like that and you stick to things that you know, it's probably not so risky. When people start doing things, like a guy came to me and told me a story about something that I should put money in and I should invest, and you know nothing about it, that's probably too risky.
All right. Nelly, great answer, Kimberly, there. I'm also going to bring in Silvia to see if she has some insight for you with Kimberly's question about risky investments. Silvia?
Yeah, Kimberly, I deal with this on a daily basis with my clients, okay? Because risk is different for every person, okay? Every investor wants to make as much as possible. They want the biggest and highest return for the lowest amount of risk. Okay, so like I think Tina mentioned that historically speaking, if you invest in the stock market, you're going to get 10% returns on average if your portfolio is mostly in stocks. And you'll also find that if you want that 10%, sometimes your investment can go down 40 or 45%. And so you have to ask yourself before you're investing, if you have that type of risk, how would you feel if you invested, let's say $100 on Monday, and by Friday, that investment was worth $600. If that's if that's comfortable for you and you're okay with it, and you say, "Oh, it's going to come back. I'm not worried about it," then that's a good amount of risk for you. But if you're losing sleep, your stomach hurts, and you just want to sell out because you can't stand the anxiety and the panic that it causes you, then that's too much risk for you. So risk for people is an individual, very personal thing. A good way to avoid this type of anxiety from losing money in an investment that's too risky for you is looking at diversifying. So don't put don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Buy a little bit of the things that you know and spread that around. And that diversification will greatly help lower the risk and allow you to sleep better at night.
Silvia, thank you so much. Hopefully that answered your question, Kimberly. Great question, by the way. And students, I just want to say, if you don't understand some of this terminology that we're talking about, I know I didn't at your age when I was in high school. I'm like, what? Stocks? What is that? You know, if you don't know what stocks means, if markets, bonds, portfolio, if you don't know what that stuff means, or investing, then, and some of this is going over your head, I invite you to educate yourself, you know, especially before you decide to put some of your hardworking money into things. There are so many resources out there, from YouTube University, that I call it, from podcasts, read a book. Some of our panelists have books and resources that can help you out as well. And a lot of people are going to be giving you advice, especially on YouTube. So be very careful and make sure you get other people's opinion before you start buying into some of these recommendations, you know, and things like that, because a lot of people want your money and you work really hard for it. You don't want to get stuck in scams and giving money to people that at the end it will not benefit you. So I just invite you to become an expert at finance and, you know, get your ideology in place and educate yourself, read, ask questions, find a mentor maybe that can help you walk you through this until you feel confident enough to do it. Just think, you know, you feel you do things well when you have confidence in doing it. And so bring that confidence by educating yourself. I really challenge you to do that. But that concludes our Q&A section. I do want to thank everyone for the great conversations, the wonderful advice. Before we get to the end of our program, though, we do have some prizes to give out. So we're going to do a drawing. I'd like to invite just some final thoughts from our panelists about the types of digital tools, resources, and support that's available, because we don't want it to end here. We know that you still have questions, and maybe you have questions within other questions that people asked, and there are tools out there. So I want to invite our panelists just to help navigate last final thoughts on budgeting and saving and investing, about now and about the future. So let's start off with, I think I'm going to start off with Trey.
Well, thank you. In closing, actually, one of the things I'd like you guys to really leave with is a quick story. I'd like, when I was probably 12, 13 years old, I started a paper route, and that was my first job I ever got. And I remember when I actually got my first paycheck, my dad took me down to Wells Fargo and opened up my first checking account at Wells Fargo where I could start saving my money. To this day, I have the exact same checking account that I had at Wells Fargo some over 35, 40 years ago. We won't get into the details. But the lesson in that is, I think when you get in habits early, of saving money when you start your relationship with a bank early on. You're building a reputation and a credit rating that you're going to need later in life. I know that most of you may not have banking accounts so far. I would encourage you to talk to your parents or your custodian and figure out if there's a way for you to start that relationship today, because you're going to want a place to put your money in and learn how to save and manage your money through the financial institutions. That's going to set you up for success long term.
All right, Trey, thank you. Tina, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I just want to say that, some of this may seem overwhelming, especially when starting to invest. I think the hardest part is just getting started. And the one thing I'll say is that, I work with a lot of financial professionals, and everyone has made a lot of mistakes. No one has done a great job, and everyone feels like they've been too late. So, the one thing I would say is there's no right way to do it. I think the most important thing is to get started as soon as possible. The other thing I would say is, I agree with Trey about building banking relationships. I would just be very careful about understanding what is marketing and sales from banks versus what will actually empower you and educate you. So just to do your own research and be very careful, who you partner with and where you put your money. And also that, especially for women, but just for everyone, find people that you can talk to, that can mentor you, that can, give you support and ideas. I think one of the most powerful things people have is their community to help them and guide them through different life stages and investment decisions. And then finally, I will say at napkinfinance.com, we have a lot of free resources. We don't sell any products or services. We just educate, and we're very transparent about that. And we have a lot of free content around investing and different types of investing and building your credit that is accessible to anyone. So I hope that can be a valuable resource for you all.
Tina, thank you very much. Silvia, I'll go to you next for your final thoughts for our students.
Yeah, I love this question because there's so many tools available now that were not available when I was a kid. Your iPhone is so powerful. I used to keep a little book where I would track all my money since I was like 10 years old. I just used to add everything, and I wouldn't spend anything because I wanted that number to keep increasing. So I guess one of the biggest things is find a budget tool. Find a budget tool online. I still keep a Microsoft or a Google Doc spreadsheet. And track how much money comes in and what you're spending your money on. That habit is so empowering in the long term, because you'll see if you notice yourself being wasteful with your money, you'll self-analyze and you'll pull that back. And especially now that you have an introduction to saving and investing, you know that there's a different option. It should feel better to you to save your money than to spend your money and give it away. Going back to the online tools, once you start investing, any platform that you're investing in, now you guys have Robinhood where you can buy, and other resources where you can buy very small investment amounts. But once you start investing, you open an account with Fidelity or TD Ameritrade or wherever you go, they'll have a lot of resources for retirement planning analysis. So if you can put in what happens with my money if I invest $50 a month or $100 a month, and you'll see how that can grow over a period of time. All of those resources are really important. I'll tell you one thing that I still do on a daily basis, and I love it, and it's really easy. So podcasts are fantastic. Robinhood has a podcast that's 1 or 3 minutes long every day. They're called The Snacks. They're funny. They let you know everything that's happening in the market with companies on a daily basis. And then once you really start getting going, the Wall Street Journal has this one called Managing Your Money. I think it's called something like that. And it's Your Money Briefing. And on a daily basis, they discuss some topic, and it just teaches you things that we don't learn in school. So those are the resources I use on a daily basis.
Yep. This is stuff you're going to have to learn kind of on your own, because they don't teach us in school. And sometimes, like I said, they don't necessarily teach it at home. So you can eventually teach it to your family and to your parents. And then I'm going to end things with Nelly. Nelly, thank you for joining us this morning. Some of your final thoughts for students and some encouragement.
Well, first of all, I want all of you to dream big. Write down, what do you really want in life? Do you want to own a home? Do you want to have a business? Do you want to like have a second home? Do you want to pay for your college? What do you want? And then look at people out there that are older than you and you go, I like their life. And if they're famous, study them. If they're not famous, if they're people you know, ask them, how did you do it? And really just make a picture of what you want your life to be. And then you're going to reverse engineer, how do I get there? And I want you to know what I do. And I have a website also like Tina's, free. We don't sell anything. And I do a lot of webinars with my son. The website is becomingselfmade.com. And I called it self-made because I think that to make it to the end of your life, we have to make ourselves over and over again, starting with money. My son and I have this game that we play everywhere we go, whether it's a restaurant, a bowling alley, whatever. We go, do we think this thing is going to make money? Do we think this is a good business? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? We almost are like critics of every business. And we go, how much money do we think they're making? And so we do these webinars in a very down to earth way about how to start thinking all the time, like, would I invest in this business if I was putting my money in it? And would I do this? Is this something I should pursue? And it starts a mindful way of thinking that you can be abundant and you can make money. I just want to leave you with, you know, my parents had nothing. I knew nothing. I know nothing about money. I had no contacts. I learned this by asking people to help me and little by little doing it. So you can all do this, I promise you. So come on the website, becomingselfmade.com, and just listen to our fun websites, our webinars, and our stories where we talk about all this stuff in a very get down way.
Yeah. All right, Nelly, thank you for that. I'd like to bring back Kat Delgado Kirkwood for her final thoughts as well. Kat?
Thank you, Daniela, and thank you to all of the panelists. Thank you, students, for being here. This was a great conversation. I've known these panelists for a little while, but I always learn something new. But I think, as Nelly mentioned at the end, I think it all starts with dreaming big, having a vision, and everything that Trey, Silvia, and Tina talked about. Those are practical things that you can start implementing now. So start with dreaming big. Junior Achievement is here to help you as well. We have resources. Silvia talked about getting a budget sheet. Go to jamyway.org. On there, you can download a budget sheet. You can track, are you generating income now? What are your expenses? Do you have any money left over? And what are you going to do with that extra money? So go ahead and go to that website and you can get those resources. And then also you can download the JA Build Your Future app, where you can start researching the types of careers. You know, what do you want to do when you grow up? How much is that, you know, career going to generate for you in terms of income? Do you need a degree? So this app is going to help you understand what the outlook is going to be for that career, how much time it's going to take to get that degree, and how much money it's going to cost. So download that app, JA Build Your Future. So we hope that you've got a lot of great information. We're here to help you. We hope that the conversation ignited your enthusiasm about learning more. Go to the JA websites and continue the learning. So like I said, we are going to have these raffle drawings. So we did not reach the 1,000 Instagram followers, but I have it back on the screen here. We're going to do a drawing after this event. So if we reach 1,000 by the end of the day today, we will do that second drawing. But we will do the first drawing. So we have chosen students at random, and I'm going to announce the winners now for the 3 Target gift cards. So our first winner, and I'm just looking down at my notes here, for the $25 gift card is Jamar Ayala with Alliance Judy Burton. Congratulations. Our second winner, $50 gift card is Melanie Hernandez with Wilson High School. And our third and final winner of the $75 gift card is Janelle Hunt with Crenshaw High School. So congratulations, students. We will email you your gift card at the email address that you provided us. So thank you again to RSM, our title sponsor, to all of our sponsors, and to City National Bank, who made these prizes available. Thank you, Daniela, for your time and commitment to our students and to all of our panelists. Back to you.
Oh, absolutely. Kat, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure joining all of you today. The work that Junior Achievement and JASoCal, everything you guys do in our community is so incredible and inspiring, helping our students succeed, educating them, and everything that you do for our communities. Just an amazing job what you do. Also, if you have been inspired by today's program, please share your experience with others. Let them know that Junior Achievement has tools available for some other students. Maybe your friends don't know about Junior Achievement at school. We're going to make this recording available, so be sure to check the JASoCal website or your email for that, and you can send it out to somebody that may need it, and you could change their future and their relationship with money too. So we'd like to thank all our panelists one more time. A round of applause for sharing your time, your talents, your advice, all your wisdom with all of us today. I know I'm going home with some new information, something that I've learned. And once again, we'd like to thank RSM and all the town hall sponsors for making this program possible. Your support is so important to provide financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness skills to the students in our community. And it was my pleasure having you today with me and with all of us. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you. Don't forget, every morning, if you get up bright and early on Today in LA from 4 to 7 a.m., Channel 4. You can also connect with me on social media at Daniela NBCLA. So I'd love to hear from you, and best of luck to all the students, panelists. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.